Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And tomorrow afternoon, Chelsea host Nottingham Forest at Stamford Bridge, looking to make it 2 wins in a row. Yep, you heard that right, guys. Back-to-back wins could be on the table for the Blues and a chance to move to 45 points. Can you believe it? Still 45 points we could hit tomorrow. What a time to be alive for a Chelsea fan. It's going to be a tough game against Forest. We drew 1-1 there earlier in the season under Graham Potter. Got battered in that second half. Lucky to get away with a point, and not too much has really improved since then either. So it's going to be a tough afternoon. We know what Forest are going to do. Yes, their away form's poor. 1 win on the road all season, but at the same time, I always say at this time of the season, you do not want to be playing teams that have got something to play for, whether that's fighting, whether that's relegation, whether that's top four, whether that's the league title. And for us in our last 4 games, I mean, you could argue, would it make any difference if we were playing teams that had nothing to play for? Possibly not, but we're playing Forest fighting for their lives, City going for the title, United and Newcastle both going for the top 4. So it really isn't great to be playing teams at the end of the season that have got something to play for, because they always find that little bit extra. But guys, as always, there is plenty to get into. The future of Thiago Silva. Mateo Kovacic looks like he's going to be able to leave the club, as is Edouard Mendy. There's a lot to get into. The future, the chances that Lewis Hall might be getting now as well, seeing as he didn't get called up to the under-20s squad. There's a lot to get stuck into, guys. But let's kick it off with the news of Thiago Silva. Obviously, we know that Silva signed a 1-year contract extension back in earlier in the year or last year. He's obviously signed a 1-year contract extension. And article from Matt Law coming out stating that Chelsea are unlikely to stand in the way of Thiago Silva if he informs the club that he wishes to make a return to Fluminense, obviously in Brazil this summer. It goes on to say that he's not among the players that Chelsea plan to actively try to offload this summer. If he expresses a desire to leave for Brazil, they may not stand in his way due to his services for the club. Now, I don't know. I think, speaking for every Chelsea fan, we love Thiago Silva. He's going to be at the game tomorrow. There's going to be that banner unfurled in the shed end for him. I hope he sees it. I'm sure he'll love it. He really has become a fan favourite here. And I don't think anyone thought that when we signed him on a free transfer from PSG 3 years ago, that he'd have this impact, that he'd be this good, that he'd be here for this long. This will be 3 seasons that he would have done for us now, going into a 4th, hopefully, if he decides to stick about. And I just don't think you can underestimate the impact he's had. He's, despite the fact that he's only been here 3 seasons, he's been probably one of the best signings that we've ever made, and one of the best players we've had at the club as well. He's so good. He's so calm. Like, he's had maybe 3 bad performances in a Chelsea shirt, majority of those against West Brom. But yeah, he's been faultless, and you can't underestimate the impact that he's had on the younger centre halves, learning from him. Fofana, Badiashile, obviously Chalobah as well. Levi Colwell, when he comes back from loan next season, these guys can all learn so much from Silva. He's a massive leader as well, and that would be my biggest concern. Not only would we be potentially losing a world-class player, it's that the fact we'd also be losing everything that goes with it, the leadership skills that he's got, everything off the pitch, the young centre-backs learning from one of the best to ever do it in that position. Those are the things that actually you'd probably say you'd miss more than his ability as a player. Of course, you're going to miss that, but those other things are so valuable, and no one else in the squad really has that. Koulibaly, yes, a lot of experience, but it doesn't really strike me as an out-and-out leader. He seems quite quiet on the pitch, and other than Silva, there's not really any leaders at all in this Chelsea team. So that would really be one of my main concerns. Let me get to a few things in the chat very briefly. Daniel, hi mate, thanks for tuning in. Yes, big up, thanks for tuning in, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, I agree, mate. Definitely want to see Lewis Hall start. Silva's the last person in the squad we want to leave. Yeah, it would be bordering on a disaster. I mean, yes, I think we're fully aware that, yes, whilst he feels like it seems like he could go on forever. If he does stay for that extension, it probably is going to be his last season. I can't see him sticking about for a further season after next year. Never say never, but yeah, I think we need to get him for at least one more. And I've got no reason to. I mean, obviously, this is just a complete hunch and just my opinion, but I hope that he doesn't want to leave. Yes, you could argue that he can obviously still operate at a top level, but it would be to return home. And with no European football to offer, he's done the Premier League 3 seasons. Maybe he feels that might be time to go back to Brazil. I'm not too sure. I don't think anyone would begrudge him that at all because of his service for the club and what he's done and how he's kind of become a cult hero and a legend at the club. And if he decides that that's what he wants to do, then so be it. But yeah, it would be a disaster. It would be really difficult because you do need those characters, you do need those world-class players in and around the dressing room. And at the moment at Chelsea, we don't have too many of those. So Silva leaving would be a disaster. Yeah, I'd be gutted as well. I really would be. Would be gutted. Hopefully Silva stays next season. Yeah, that's one of the key things that I feel that other than his obvious quality on the pitch, is the clear fact that the leadership qualities are going to be a big miss, and we don't have any leaders. We're bereft of leaders. So to lose one potentially in the summer, and one of our best ones, and really one of our only ones, would be a huge problem, and it would leave Pochettino with a big hole to fill. Do you then go out and sign a centre back? I mean, you might have to sign a centre back if Thiago Silva were to move on. I believe that Trevor Chalobah is probably going to be sold this summer. You then are definitely needing another centre back unless you're trusting Levi Colwill. But there's not, other than Koulibaly, who's not been great this season. You're asking him to step in and become the most experienced centre back at the club, having only been here for 1 season. So yeah, it presents itself with a problem, and it presents Chelsea with an issue where I don't think we would have been looking to go into the market for a centre back this summer. But if Silva were to leave, and as I said, Chalobah probably moves on as well, then it forces your hand, and you kind of do have to go into the market for another centre back. So it'll be interesting to see what Silva does decide to do. You can obviously tell that he's not been particularly happy, like a lot of players, how this season has gone. You see the comments after the Real Madrid game, criticising, saying the board have got things wrong. He's obviously not as happy as he has been at the club. I think that's fair to say. I don't think anyone's happy with how things are going. And, with no Champions League football, you might think, do I want to be doing another season? I mean, the article itself kind of adds that, it's unclear whether or not Chelsea would demand any sort of fee for him. But apparently he's reportedly been approached by Fluminense president Mario Bittencourt and former striker Fred about returning to his boyhood club. And it just adds that, he's voiced his frustration at Chelsea's disappointing season following the elimination, accusing Bowley and Egbali of making an incorrect step. And, last year he said that Fluminense is the club I would like to finish at. It was the club where I played after I had my illness, and it's the club who opened the door for me after that stage and believed in me when nobody thought Thiago Silva would still make it as a player. As incredible as it may seem, it's the club that I support as well. So obviously he's got an affiliation there. He's got a clear affection there. You wouldn't begrudge him it, but as I said, it would leave Chelsea in the shit big time at the back. Not because we haven't got capable players in terms of Badiashile, Fofana, Colwill coming back. Again, Colwell's been fantastic at Brighton, looks a really exciting prospect, but we don't know how he's going to perform in a Chelsea shirt. Let's be real, you'd expect him to adapt and fit in, but there's no guarantees. He's played at the Premier League, but he's not played for Chelsea. It's different doing it for Chelsea than it is doing it for Brighton. I believe he's got the ability to and a temperament to do so, but at the same time, there needs to be some experience there, because as I was saying, Koulibaly would suddenly become the most experienced centre back, and then you're looking at Badiashile, Fofana, and the like to really step in and take up a senior leadership role and control at the back when they're young and they've not been here 2 minutes themselves either. Who's going to be? Yeah, well, there isn't really anyone. You look at it, there are no leaders. You're looking at Reece James. You'd be looking at probably Fofana to try and step into one of those roles. You'd be looking at Kante, I guess, but Kante's not really he's more of a silent guy. He's not really, he's not. I wouldn't really put Kante down as a leader. Kovacic, I think, is another one. Looks like he's going to go again. He's part of that quote unquote leadership group. It leaves Chelsea massively short. If his missus wants to go back home, I don't think it's as simple as that. That could be part of the reasoning. Maybe I don't know. We'd be purely speculating, but at the same time, that probably does have a say in it. It's not like he's sort of 25 anymore. Does he really, like, I suppose from a family perspective, does he really need to do another season in England? Not really. But it's I'd be so gutted if he left. And one thing I've got to do is get a Thiago Silva shirt before he leaves, as in I need to go and buy one. Come on, I don't know. No, he doesn't, because he's not proven that he deserves any. What do you think of Havertz captain? I don't know if that's if you're joking. Is that a serious suggestion, or is that a bit of a laugh? I don't want to be disrespectful, but Havertz as captain is an absolute no. Havertz hasn't got any leadership qualities. He doesn't perform on a consistent basis. He fails to turn up more often than not. It's not that's not captain material, unfortunately. It really isn't. I mean, let me know why you think Havertz should be or could be a good captain. Because for me, I'm just not having that. I'm really not having that. But yeah, let's hope Silva does stay. Obviously, he'll see his banner tomorrow in the shed end before the Forest game. Maybe that can have some impact on a decision if there is indeed a decision to be made there. But I guess that's just kind of clearing up the speculation that had been doing the rounds a little bit in terms of he was pictured with a Fluminense shirt. You obviously have then the president's comments as well. So I guess it's just kind of clearing that up. But ultimately, I think at Silva's age and his stage of his career and the service that he's done for the club, Chelsea wouldn't stand in his way and make it difficult if that was his wish, because of the incredible service that he's given to the club in such a short space of time. But yeah, Chelsea would be pretty stuffed. Well, no, it wouldn't be like a disaster in terms of shit, we got no players, but it would be a disaster in terms of leadership. And in terms of people, in terms of someone for the young defenders to learn from. So yeah, Thiago Silva's future. Yes, he signed a new contract extension, but there is a chance that if he decides he'd like to go back to Brazil, then Chelsea wouldn't stand in his way. But let's hope that it doesn't come to that, because we want him to stay. We want Thiago Silva to hang about for as long as he possibly can, because he's a certified club legend. He's that guy. He's always the last one off the pitch. Every single game, win or lose, fans love him. He just gets it. Some players just get it, and he knows exactly what it means to be a Chelsea player. By the way, guys, keep smashing the likes on the stream. Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't done so already, guys. Less than 100 subscribers now to 3,000. So every new subscriber would help. So please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. But people, let's get this stream up. Let's get the likes up, mate. Only on 8 likes at the moment, guys. Let's get this to at least 10 first port of call. But let's aim for 20 as well, people. Let's get to that 20 likes mark. So if you're locked in now, you've not smashed a like, please do smash a like. It massively helps me out. It helps the stream out more than you could imagine as well, guys. Right, let's move on from Thiago Silva to Mateo Kovacic, another player whose future is up in the air / in doubt. For me, it would appear that Mateo Kovacic is more than likely to be leaving Chelsea, I would say, at the end of the season, probably. 2 years left on the contract. No indication that a new deal is going to be signed. But at the same time, you can never rule anything out. Let me just bring this up on screen now, guys. In terms of Kovar, I think he's given good service to the club. Jacob Steinberg reporting yesterday, backed up by Fabrizio Romano again today, that Mateo Kovacic is likely to leave Chelsea this summer. Bayern Munich and both Manchester clubs are interested in signing the Croatian. Let me just get to a few things in the chat. What do you think our ideal shape with players we have and bring in? I mean, I don't know what players are going to bring in, but the ideal shape right now for me is a 3-4-3 with what we've got. I think moving forward, if we bring the players in that we're looking to bring in, then I would say a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 could suit us going forwards, providing we bring in a world-class number 6. Yeah, I think I'm at that stage now as well. I think, he's given us some great service and he's been an important player for us. But this season, the performances despite a handful, have really dipped. And he's not as important to the club as he once was. And I think we do have to look to move on from Kovacic. I don't know how much money we'd get for him, but anything more than 8 million represents a profit. If we get in terms of book value, so if we get 8 million or more, that means we've made a profit on Mateo Kovacic in terms of his book value. So I'm sure we'd get more than 8 million for him. Of course we would, but he'd be going into 1 year left on his contract in the summer. I think you can probably get 25 to 30 million pounds from him. And we just need to use that to reinvest into the midfield and just continue that midfield revamp even. Let me get my words out there. I think like a lot of Chelsea fans, some will be disappointed with this news. Some will be disappointed if he does ultimately move on at the end of the season. But I think there's a lot like myself that feel it's probably the time is now right to part ways with Cover. It's time to move on from that sort of 2015, 2016 midfield of maybe 2017, 2018, whatever it was, midfield of Kovacic and Jorginho. And we need to move forward. We need to continue that revamp, get some slightly younger players in, freshen it up. I think Cover would be a good choice to leave. I don't think he's the sort of guy that would want to be a squad player. I think he is good enough to go and play regularly somewhere else, whether that's in Spain, Italy, Germany. But I just don't think he's at the level required now to go and play to play week in, week out for Chelsea. He's just not it. If we're looking to rebuild that midfield, Enzo Fernandez, N'Golo Kante hopefully signs that new contract, hangs around for a bit of experience. You bring Declan Rice in, but hopefully, for my sake, you're looking at Romeo Lavia, looking at Manu Kone, you're looking at potentially Manuel Ugarte at Sporting Lisbon as well. Young, hungry guys that are going to be part of the future. Yes, you need a bit of experience around there as well, but I think Kovacic I don't really think he's part of the plans. Obviously, again, it's going to depend on Pochettino. Pochettino ultimately needs to have his say as manager whenever he gets announced. I think that is virtually done. I don't know what the hold up is. We're just waiting for an announcement, I suppose now. There's no indications that anything is going to fall through on that front. But in terms of players' futures, yes, everyone as fans have got their ideas of who should and shouldn't be staying at the club. But ultimately, Pochettino does need to have his say on who he wants to keep and who he thinks should be staying at the club. As a manager, he's definitely got that right to do that. Yes, HD, big up, mate. All all good with me. Hope you're well. I don't really want Kovacic. No, that wouldn't be ideal, but at the same time, I think, it is what it is. If that happens, it happens. There's no point keeping Kovacic just because we don't want him to go to United or City. Let's be real. Kovacic would be a squad player at City. He'd probably start at United, but he certainly wouldn't start at City. I wouldn't have thought, unless Gundogan leaves, which looks like that could happen. Maybe Bernardo Silva leaves as well, although he's a different player to Bernardo Silva. Maybe he could be a Gundogan replacement for City potentially if he were to leave. I'm not really sure. Central midfield targets: Declan Rice, Manu Ugarte, Lavia, Manu Kone. Though I think those are the four on the list. Maybe Caicedo as well. Those are the five you kind of would be looking at. It will be one from those five, hopefully two, I would imagine. Mate, thank you, massively appreciate that. Thanks for the love. Really appreciate it. So thanks for tuning in, mate, and thanks for the kind comments. We have to sell Cover and buy best centre midfielders like McAllister or Rice. I think McAllister is going to go to Liverpool. McAllister, I like McAllister. I think he's a very good player, but at the same time, I don't feel he's the right profile of what Chelsea are looking for. Yes, he could argue. Yes, he could play alongside Enzo. We recreate that Argentinian midfield, but we haven't got endless amounts of money. Can we really be signing McAllister, Rice, Kone, or whoever it is? Yes, I like McAllister, but I think Chelsea's interest is slightly cooled. In terms of McAllister, Liverpool seem to be in the driving seat there. I think that Chelsea are very much focused on Rice, focusing on Romeo Lavia as well. But I wouldn't totally rule it out. But yeah, thank you, mate. Appreciate it. If we sign Mane, do you think Poch? I hope we don't sign Mane, not because he's not a good player, but because it just doesn't really make any footballing sense. We don't need Mane. We don't need a right winger necessarily. And he's not a centre forward either. So Mane, whilst he's a good player, the signing just doesn't make any sense if that were to happen. Look, obviously, if it did end up happening for whatever reason, I'd fully support him. But at the same time, for me, from a footballing perspective, it doesn't make sense. Like, where does Mane fit in? Mudryk and Madueke are the future and should be the focus. Sterling's going to have another season, whether we like it or not, because he's only just joined the club and he's on massive wages that no one else is going to pay. You could argue there is room for one more winger if Pulisic and Ziyech leave. You've obviously got Nkunku coming in as well that could do something in that position. So yeah, no, for me, Mane, it doesn't make sense from a footballing perspective. It's a no from me. Yeah, Shane, me and you both, mate. That I'd love that. That would be perfect for me. Rice should be a new number 8. Rice is kind of an all-round midfielder, probably a box-to-box. I would say, but is equally comfortable with kind of everywhere in midfield. He'd be the perfect midfield signing for me. Or if Manchester City signs Cover, do you mean? Yeah, it would be if he went to Bayern, it would obviously be better. But I wouldn't be concerned about Cover going to Man City. I don't think he's not going to suddenly transform them. They're a phenomenal team anyway. I don't think Kovacic going there is suddenly going to make them even more unstoppable. He'd be a squad player there, I'd imagine. No to Mane, no to Neymar. Yeah, I agree on that. Yeah, Caicedo, I would also love as well. I think he's a phenomenal player. I've seen him live twice this season, home and away against Brighton. He dominated the midfield in both games. He's a special player. He really is. Top player. Covers the ground, breaks the play up, good range of passing. He's all action. He's just everything you'd want in a holding midfield player. And he's a perfect profile. Problem is, he's going to cost a lot of money. And from a PR perspective, can Chelsea be seen to be going back in for Brighton players again? I don't really know, but yeah, I'd love him. I'd love him to come. From what I've seen, I think a pursuit for Lavia is necessary for Chelsea. Yeah, Lavia is going to be interesting one because obviously Southampton look all but set to go down, which means that Lavia would suddenly be a lot cheaper than if they were going to stay in the Premier League. Obviously, if we're going to get Lavia, we need to try and do it this summer because obviously next summer City's buyback clause / first option on Lavia becomes active, and they more than likely would be very interested in bringing him back, considering they're going to have to start thinking about rebuilding their midfield. So we are going to need to get a bit of a move on and get ahead of the game, like we did with Enzo Fernandez, to try and get Lavia through the door. I'd even just be happy with Lavia and Toney, then focus the rest of the window clearing out the squad. I'd love it. I'd love to get Ivan Toney. We don't know what the ban outcome's going to be. Thomas Frank today saying that he thinks Toney's worth 100 mil. He's not worth 100 mil, but obviously, 100 mil these days seems to be a ballpark figure. Frank's obviously going to try and price people out of a move. But until we know about the ban, I don't think we can be looking at pursuing Ivan Toney too seriously. Lavia, I think, would be a great signing. But again, it needs to be him and someone else with more experience because Lavia's not got enough experience, I don't think we can have a midfield of a 22-year-old Enzo and a 19-year-old Romeo Lavia. It needs some experience in there. It really does. Do you think Lavia is better than Rice? No, I don't think that. Not at the moment. He's certainly not. I think Rice is the best holding midfielder in the league. You could argue alongside Rodri as well, but those two are definitely the best right now. Game of week next season is going to be hard. Yeah, it's going to be hard, mate. Going to have to find things to fill the channel with, but I'll worry about that when we get to it. No rush there. But yeah, it'll be a shame not having the midweek games. It really will be. Cover can go. Thinks he's bigger than the club. Silva, though, he recently signed a contract. Don't know why he wants to leave. I think it would mainly be for family reasons if Silva was to decide to move back. But yeah, in terms of Cover, I don't know if he thinks he's bigger than the club, but he's certainly not as important as he once was. And I think he's a player that we could do without and certainly move on. Yeah, this once a week thing, as shit as it is for us as fans and having to sit back and watch everyone else in the Champions League and have empty midweeks, this could be really beneficial in the long term in terms of we're going to have so much time on the training pitch to implement tactics, ideas, identity, get players to know one another. That's going to be a massive, massive plus. We're going to have a lot more time than we've had in a number of years to work on ideas, tactics, etc. on the training pitch, which should make a big difference on the pitch as well. Yeah, I think we all will miss it, Dan. We'll all miss it. Is there any chance Lautaro Martinez come to Chelsea? Again, a name that's been linked with the club. Pochettino Argentinian, Martinez Argentinian. We've got Argentinian and Enzo Fernandez at the club. I think Martinez is a good player. I like him. Would he suit Chelsea? It's hard to tell. Is he the right profile? Is he the sort of striker that we're looking for? I think we could definitely do a lot worse. In terms of do I think it will happen? I don't really think so. I'd be surprised if this one did happen. But I think he's a good player and it would be a good fit. Mate, plenty of spaces. We might have to attach a few more carriages to the train, but there's plenty of space on it, mate. Welcome aboard. What about Palhinha from Fulham? Yeah. Oh, I'd forgotten about him. He's had a phenomenal season for Fulham. Really good player. No disrespect to Fulham, but he looks a touch above that level. He could definitely play for a Champions League club or a club in the top 5 or 6. And I think that could be a smart pickup. You may be looking at 50, 60 million quid. A player that's got room to improve as well. That would be one to watch, not necessarily to Chelsea, but just one to watch in general. I mean, it could be for Chelsea as well. I wouldn't be totally disappointed if it ended up being Rice and Palhinha or Palhinha and Lavia. I think Palhinha is a really shrewd buy and an option. And I'd be surprised if he was still to be at Fulham, because I expect some top clubs to be sniffing about and interested in securing his services for sure. By the way, guys, keep smashing the likes. 7 more likes to 20 likes. Let's get it up to that 20 mark, people. Keep hitting that like button. It helps me out more than you could imagine. So let's get this to 20 likes, guys. 7 to go. So keep smashing that like button, guys. Let's have a look here. Do you think Chelsea will play Friday night? Well, that's down to the television rights. So some games will be picked for Friday night football. Whether a Chelsea game gets picked for a Friday night, I've got no idea, because I don't know what the schedule is for next season. I don't know what the broadcasting rights are in terms of what games are going to be there. Heard on the stream last night, thoughts on Onana from Everton. Yeah, again, he was one we were linked with in January. I think an approach was knocked back. I like Onana. It's not really the profile. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder. He could do a job, but again, young, only been at Everton for 1 season. But I suspect, again, like Lavia, if Everton were to get relegated, he's another one that I don't think would be hanging about in the Championship, and he would be cheaper to get because they would have been relegated. So I think that's another one to keep an eye on, maybe for Chelsea, but obviously for other clubs in the Premier League as well. Although I agree that a break from Europe would help us, I disagree. We've been able to attract elite level players, top level players, knowing we're not going to get any Champions League football this season. Look at the players we signed in January. We signed in Kunku in November, December time. With it fully clear that we weren't going to be playing any European football. We signed Enzo Fernandez, knowing that it's unlikely to have European football. Joao Felix joined us on loan. This Champions League does help, of course, but Chelsea have got massive pull, London lifestyle, and we're one of the few clubs where not having European football doesn't actually affect us getting top class players, as proven in January. Going to be very interesting summer with who we ship out and keep. We need to get it right, get the manager sorted. First step. Yeah, absolutely. First step, get Pochettino announced and through the door. Second step, squad clear out. Allow him to say who he doesn't want. Allow him to do your best to bring in the targets that he wants in those key areas. And then we move from there. But I mean, I'm super excited for the summer. We're excited to see what players come in. I'm just super excited to see the squad get trimmed down, because there's just too many players in this squad, too many players that aren't good enough, too many bad attitudes, too many guys that just don't want to be at the club either. So yeah, let's see what happens in the summer. But it's certainly going to be an interesting summer, and it's going to be a really, really important summer. Personally, I think they're delaying the Poch announcement out of respect for Lampard. Well, what are they waiting for? We're not going to wait another 2 weeks to the end of the season to announce that. I'd be surprised. I honestly think that an announcement could come this weekend, maybe on Saturday or maybe on Sunday. I don't think before the game. If we win, maybe after the game, but certainly I think on Sunday there could be a high chance we get a Pochettino announcement, I feel. Do you think Bowley will have more of an idea? Oh, no, he will. People underestimate how difficult it is to come in and do a takeover. People need to remember that a takeover takes a long time to go through. Newcastle takeover almost a year. You're seeing at how long the potential United takeover could be taking. This was pushed through in record time because it had to be. So, you're starting on the back foot. You're going to make mistakes. Yes, he's made mistakes. Yes, he needs to learn from those mistakes. And I'm sure they have learnt from those mistakes. But, this has been rushed through. We've not had as much time to get used to things as they would have liked. They've had to hit the ground running, do a lot of extra work that they probably wouldn't have done otherwise in normal circumstances. So, yes, definitely got more of an idea. Now the footballing structure's in place, I would expect far less mistakes to be made next season. This I think why this Poch thing dragging the owners. No, they can't. Yeah, of course, but I mean, I don't know what else they could be waiting for. I'd rather they get it right, but at the end of the day, what are we waiting for? What other candidates are there really for the job? There's not many. Yeah, I would agree that it is pretty much all set behind closed doors. They won't sack Lampard. Yeah, Lampard's not going to be sacked. Lampard's going to do the last 4 games. Poch will definitely be announced before the season ends. Hopefully within the next week or so. I would imagine. And I guess that Poch is probably already working with the board behind. Yeah, maybe, quite possibly. I'm sure in those conversations, he would have pitched his idea of who he does want to keep, etc. So yeah, those conversations would have definitely taken place. That's for sure. Let's move on to Lewis Hall then. Obviously, he was called up to the under-20s England squad for the World Cup, but Chelsea blocked that call-up. Frank Lampard confirming that it was his decision to block Lewis Hall's call-up to the under-20, World Cup, because they're going to be first-team opportunities for him due to the fact that Ben Chilwell and Mark Cucurella are both injured. Lampard saying, I've been really impressed with his training. He's a really good, really talented player. If anything, if there is one thing, he needs to come out of himself that bit more, because he should really trust how good he is. And I think, we know how good Lewis Hall has been. We know what we've seen from him in the first team. He's been fantastic. The performances up at City, the performance at Newcastle. He's played against Liverpool as well, where, all right, he didn't have his best game, but, you can see there's clear ability there, clear talent there. Suddenly disappeared for quite a while after his last appearance. But now it looks like he's back in the frame. And, every time he's played for the first team, he has done very well. He has. And, I just hope for Lampard's sake that, he's saying all this stuff and he does actually pick him and give the kid a chance. I don't want to see him suddenly pick Aspilicueta at left back for the next 4 games. He overlooked Lewis Hall from the bench last week at Bournemouth, the fans in the away end, chanting Lewis Hall's name. I just hope he doesn't decide to go with Aspie at left back instead of Hall. You've made that decision now to block the call up to the under-20 squad. You now have to play Lewis Hall and give him minutes. Don't just give him like a few minutes from the bench. He needs to be starting this game. He needs to be starting the next few games. I would argue, Lampard just can't be sort of saying this and saying one thing and then going to do another. I totally agree. He's never let us down. He hasn't let us down at all in the games that he's played. And he's performed to a very high level, a really exciting young player. And, the only way this is right to block his call up is if he's going to play some part in these 4 games. Otherwise, what was the point in it? Don't just play him in don't just block him from going to the under-20 World Cup because you're going to play him in 1 game and then you're just going to sit him on the bench for the other 3. That's not the way to go. Hall at left back hasn't been that good even for under 20. Yeah, left wing back is the way to go. That's why I feel tomorrow when I get into the team, we do need to play a back 3 so that Lewis Hall can slot in that left wing back role. Flat left back, I don't think he's even played left back for the first team. I think it's always been at wing back, or he did play in midfield at Anfield. He is predominantly a midfield player, but of course he is quite versatile. He's comfortable in that left wing back position. I'm not comparing him by any means at all to Camavinga, but it is funny how some midfield players seem to end up playing at left back, because you've got Camavinga that's playing a lot of left back at Real Madrid. You've got Lewis Hall, who's predominantly a midfield player, can play at left back and will have to play at left back. But yeah, I think he's a big talent. I really like him. He's not let the first team down once when he's played. So yeah, the only way this blocked call up makes sense is if Lampard actually plays him in these games. Otherwise, it's a complete mockery and it's a complete disrespect to Lewis Hall, and it's kind of blocking his development. So we do need to make sure that we do play him. That is absolutely crucial. Just wanted to ask how you feel about Havertz and Sterling. Well, Sterling's going to play for us next season. He's only been here a season. He's on massive wages. We're not going to get rid of him after a season. I'd be very surprised. And I don't know who would actually come in for him and pay sort of near the money that we'd be looking for. Havertz, he's one of those guys. He has a few moments here and there, has a purple patch around March or April time, kind of tries to fool us all, and then he reverts back to type. Not good enough at the end of the day, in my opinion. Has a handful of good games here and there. No consistency. Weak hold-up play, weak link-up plays. Doesn't score many goals. Doesn't provide many assists. Just doesn't really do anything for us. And it was a mistake to sign him. The signing's not worked out. And that's my thoughts. I think Chelsea need to cut their losses and move on. Simple as that. Yeah, he did play very well in that City game. Should have scored at least once, probably a couple of times. Who's going to play right wing back? I'd play Chalobah there or Loftus-Cheek, in my opinion. Does anyone think Lukaku will be here next season? I hope not. It could just. I think that look, Lukaku has to come back at the end of the season because he's a contracted Chelsea player, so he will report back to the club. I'm sure he will be assessed and he might play some part in pre-season. I've said many times, the only way the Lukaku situation is a goer is if he himself is prepared to try and make things work, and he wants to make things work and he wants to put things right. That is the only way this is a goer. The next step after that is, does Pochettino want him? If he does, then we can start to progress further along those stages of reintegration. But only then, the most important thing is, does Lukaku want it? That's going to be the key to deciding whether this has got any legs. It's interesting because Lukaku actually, he's an in-house solution to a massive problem that Chelsea have got. We know he scores goals wherever he goes. Yes, it's been injury hit this season, but he started to come into a bit of form now. Ironically, he could be a Champions League finalist come next week, which would be quite something. Imagine if he returned to Chelsea as a Champions League winner. That'd be quite a turn up for the books. But it's an in-house solution ready-made for a massive problem that Chelsea have got. Secondly, is the striker market's quite dry this summer. It's quite sparse. You're looking at Osimhen, Tony, Vlahovic, Kane, but probably not Kane from a Chelsea perspective. Maybe you're looking at Kolo Muani, but again, the price that is being quoted there is ridiculous as well. We're maybe looking at, if the Tony ban's long and we can't go for him, then maybe if Lukaku does want to stay and he does want to try and put things right and Poch wants him, that could be a good solution for a season, if Broja backing up to him and rotating and whatnot. And then maybe the following summer, the striker market becomes a bit more open with a few more options on the table, and then we go then. But something needs to be done on the centre forward position. I like to think we'd go and buy one, but ultimately, Lukaku, I don't think the chapter is fully closed on that, but it depends on what he wants to do. Maybe midfielders play better at left back, right back, and I don't know. I mean, it's not something I've tracked over the years particularly, but it certainly seems to be something that seems to be a lot more common now. If Lukaku is anywhere near our starting lineup next season, I'll generally throw up. I think, look, it's got more potential to work because of it'll be different system, different manager. There's a higher quality of players around him. The likes of Mudryk and Madueke's Enzo picking those passes from midfield. It could suit him better, and I think it would be better set up for him this time round if he were to try again. But as I said, it all comes down to what he wants to do. It's as simple as that. So again, I covered Lewis Hall. Let's get into the team. Seems like a good point to do that. By the way, guys, if you haven't checked out the opposition preview with the lads from Forest Fan TV, that's on the channel now. So when I've rounded out this stream, make sure you head over to the channel and check out my preview with those guys for the game tomorrow. Smash a like on it, leave your thoughts in the comments. Would really appreciate the support. And whilst we're at it, people, keep smashing the likes on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and help me on my way to 3,000 subscribers, guys. Less than 100 to go now, so let's make sure that we get there. Still 5 likes, people, to that 20 like mark. So let's smash a like on there if you haven't done so already. Let's get this one up to 20 likes, guys. We'd really appreciate that. So if you're locked in now, you've not smashed a like, make sure you do so. 4 more to go, people. Let's get me to that 20 likes mark. So, system tomorrow. Is he able to? Is Wesley able to play in the right back position? I mean, he could play right back. It's not ideal. It's not optimal. He is fit again. He's back in the squad. So it's a possible option, but I would think unlikely. Yeah, I'm massively excited for Nkunku as well. I can't lie. I am looking forward to seeing what he can do. Yeah, you've got to hope he doesn't flop. We're just not. We've got to put. We've got to put. You know, our faith in him. We've got to hope that it's not a flop. We've got to be patient with him as well. You know, that his best position is probably as a 10 or a second striker, which is why hopefully maybe we adopt a 4-2-3-1 next season to get the best out of him. Yes, he's versatile. Yes, he could play centre forward. He's not an out and out centre forward. But yeah, I'm excited for him. But I'm always got that worry in the back of my mind: is it going to be a flop? Because a lot more often than not, a lot of signings, particularly Chelsea signs on the Bundesliga, haven't worked out. But I hope Nkunku is different. Felix looked like he's going to stay. Yeah, potentially. I think the best solution would be another loan deal with an option or an obligation to buy at the end of it. But again, with Felix, you know, it's not a priority, and it depends who stays and who goes as to whether it's worth keeping him for another season. Yep, saw that, mate. He might be he could be. Lukaku could be a UCL winner by the end of the season. You never know. Would you play Felix up top over Havertz? Yeah, I would. I would do that. In total agreement with you, Sterling is an even bigger problem. Yeah, I'm going to give Sterling benefit of the doubt because it's one season. But if we're still seeing this level of performance or not much better than this level of performance, then it is a concern and it is a problem. I totally agree. Nkunku's a different talent. I don't think he'd have issues before. No, I don't think he would either. But you know, there's always that concern until he arrives and until you see him doing it. Then you know that concern's in the back of your mind. But yes. Let's get into the team, guys. Obviously, let me know your thoughts as well. I am obviously going with the back five or back three, whatever you want to call it. I'm going, obviously, Kepa in goal. Mendy, as I said many times, I don't think is going to play for the club again. There's no point making a goalkeeper change with 4 games to go in this season. Totally pointless. And Kepa's actually done pretty well recently. My back three is going to be, all I want is Mudryk to do well. I've massively invested in Mudryk stocks. I'm fully invested in Mudryk. You know, talents there, abilities there. You can see. Just need that consistency. Just needs exposure to more first team football at this level. And we'll see. I think I'm confident we'll see him shine and thrive, and we'll definitely see him kick on next season for sure. Let's go back three for me. Wesley Fofana's back in the squad again. You know, after a precaution leaving him out against Bournemouth. For me personally, back three makes the most sense. I think gives us the best chance of winning. Despite the fact we won last week, I don't particularly like us in a back four at the moment. So I'm going to go Fofana on this right-hand side. Thiago Silva. And then Badiashile on the left-hand side. That's what it's got to be. That has to be it. That is the best 3 defenders at the club. That is the best 3 that we've got available. Badiashile has to play. If he doesn't start for Fofana, then we go with a 2 and we go Silva and Badiashile in the middle. But Badiashile has got to be playing because he's superb. He hasn't put a foot wrong when he's played for the club. Yesterday against Brighton at home, he didn't have the best of games. I mean, what's the point in resting players? We're playing once a week now. There's 4 games left. I don't think we really need to be resting players. There's no need to change anything. And if Silva does decide that he wants to move on at the end of the season, I want to see him play as many games out of these last 4 as possible for Chelsea. So I disagree. I don't think Silva's going to be rested. I mean, I could be wrong, and I would obviously apologise and own up to that. But I'd be surprised if Silva was rested because there's no need to. Let's look at the right wing back situation then. It's obviously a toss-up between Ruben and Chalobah. We saw Trev play right back last week. So for me, I probably would give Chalobah the nod in this right wing back position. But again, I wouldn't be totally bothered if Ruben played there either. Forest, we're going to have to be careful. You know, pace on the counter-attack in Morgan Gibbs-White and Brennan Johnson, who's rapid. So we're going to have to be careful there and watch that. But yeah, I'd go Chalobah. Yeah, I mean, Chalobah did get absolutely cooked by Matoma But I probably just would go with Trev over Ruben. I just think defensively better. Yes, Ruben is better at getting forward, but I think we want to try and make sure we stay defensively sound, and we can always bring Ruben on if needed. But again, there's very little. I don't think there's too much between the two in the right wing back stop. I'd probably just go Chalobah just because he's a bit better defensively. On that left hand side, we spoke about him earlier. Lewis Hall, he has to play. Simple as that. There's no point, as I said. Lampard will just look stupid if he says those things in the presser and he's admitted that it was his decision to block the call up and then he doesn't start him or he doesn't use him in this game. So Lewis Hall has to play, and it would be great to see him back in a Chelsea shirt again. It's been too long since we've seen him in the first team. He's got his top quality, and I look forward to seeing what he can do. Yeah, I've got a feeling Lampard probably will play a back four. He loves playing a back four. We know he loves playing a back four, so we probably would, but we probably will. But this is my team, and this is what I would go with. So we're going with the back five. Midfield, I think, speaks for itself. Enzo Fernandez, and this is the one thing that I've been waiting to see since Lampard took over as interim for the rest of the season. Myself, and I'm sure many other Chelsea fans, we want to see that Enzo Kante pivot. Bring us the Enzo Kante pivot. We need that. I just want to see it, because I think that could be really good. One can go forward, one can drop deep, and they can rotate in that role. And Enzo, plays really well with someone else alongside him in that pivot. So we've seen it with McAllister for Argentina. We've seen it with Kante. We need a more of a defensive-minded. No, he doesn't. In a pivot, you can get forward. One sits, one goes. At the moment, Enzo's been playing as the deepest player. He's been playing as the 6 in a 4-3-3, and that's not conducive to getting him up the pitch at all. At least in a pivot, there's a lot more space. There's a lot more license for him to get forward than there is, for example, last week where he played as the 6 against Bournemouth, and Kante and Gallagher were the more advanced midfield players. So, no, I disagree, mate. This is much better for him to get forward. And I want to see Enzo and Kante in a pivot. I just want to see how the two contribute each other and how it would look, because I think it would look. I think it's got potential to be pretty decent. If I'm being honest, so I'd love to see that. I would love to see that. But we'll have to wait and see. I suspect we'll probably see a 3. I guess we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same 3 that we saw against Bournemouth. I just think Enzo, Kante, Gallagher. Yeah, I've had this conversation with so many fans at games and whatnot as well. Like, I cannot understand why, when you've got Enzo and Kante on the pitch, Kante is always the more advanced player. Look at the positions that Kante picks up. Sometimes he's in the right wing. Sometimes he's in the 10 position. You're thinking, you want Enzo there. You want in those positions that Kante's been picking up. That's exactly where you want Enzo. So I'm not sure why Lampard and many other managers can persist with having Kante as a more advanced midfield player than he normally is. Yeah, mate, it appears so. Lamp's going to put out. To be fair, I didn't actually mind the lineup too much last week against Bournemouth. I probably would have started Felix instead of Havertz, but ultimately, I didn't actually mind the team too much. In terms of the front 3, it's a no-brainer. I hope he doesn't think because Sterling and Ziyech got assists that they deserve to be in the lineup. Madueke has put in 2 top-notch performances, one against Arsenal, one against Bournemouth. End product does need to improve, yes, but he's really showing his quality. And, when you're a young player, and particularly when you're playing well as well, you just want to keep getting those minutes in the tank. Madueke is a really exciting prospect, an exciting talent. And I'm excited to see what he can do going forward in this game, because he's had 2 great performances on the road. We haven't really seen too much of his ability at the Bridge in front of the home fans. So let's hopefully that he can carry on this good form and give us something to cheer. For me, on the left hand side, Slick Rick Mudryk. He's got to play. Yes, he didn't have the best of games against Bournemouth, but this is a guy that's young. He's got so much potential, so much ability. And again, like Madueke, he just needs to be playing consistent football just to adapt, just to learn more about the Premier League. And, when you're young, you just want to keep playing football so that you can improve. And, it's no good to youngsters 1 week in the team, 1 week out. He needs a run of games. And Mudryk, I don't think, whilst he didn't play the best, he's definitely deserves to start more than Sterling does, and deserves to start more than a Ziyech, for example, would as well. And, he's the future. He's going to be here for the next few years alongside Madueke, of course. So, there's no point playing guys that aren't going to be here or massively out of form. Ziyech shouldn't be anywhere near the team. Neither should Sterling right now. So I'd be going Mudryk, Madueke again. And then what we got here, I've seen on Twitter that Fofana has been garbage for the 21s. To be honest, I've not followed the 21s that closely. Yeah, so I wouldn't know about that, but obviously, yeah, it's quite quiet, and we've not seen too much news on him. So I'd be surprised if he was suddenly to be called into the team and start. Maybe he should be in the team, in the squad, and an option from the bench potentially. But yeah, shouldn't be starting right now, I don't feel. No, exactly. Mudryk's got to be playing regular minutes. It's as simple as that. Mudryk must be playing regular minutes. By the way, guys, still 3 more likes to go till we get to that 20 mark. So keep smashing the like, guys. Get me to 20 before we round this one out. Well, yeah, we need those likes, people. We need those likes. So let's get 3 more at least on the board, guys. Come on, let's keep it going. Mudryk's never going to improve bench. No, play Felix as a false 9. Mate, I don't know, Felix super sub when he came off the bench and he scored. I think, to be honest, that probably earns him a start over Havertz in my book. Fofana, I think, played less than 4 games for them, though. The 2 I saw, he wasn't good. No, I think he did score in one of them. I'm not sure. But the games for the first team, he's looked all right. He was pretty good in that second half against Man City when we lost 4-0 in the Cup. And I felt he was half decent when he came on against Fulham at home as well. So, yeah, for me, because he scored, allow Joao to start striking and give him freedom. Yeah, for sure. I agree on this. Joao Felix would be my choice there. And I think, you've got to reward people for their performances. And, he came off the bench and he made an impact. He got a goal. He took it well. He did more than in 6 minutes. He did more than Havertz did in 84 minutes. So, you've got to reward people that have done well and made the most of their opportunities from the bench. So, yeah, that's exactly what we need to do is do that. This is the best front three I think we've got available at our disposal. And I think this team, I know I've picked it and it's what I'd go with, but I think this is the best team that we can go with tomorrow out of what we've got available and out of the players that are in form. I think we deserve this. I think if Frank's watching, which I know he's not, but I want to see this team. The fans deserve to see this team, and it's a decent size. I think I'd be excited to see that tomorrow. I really would be. Never understand why Potter took. Did he start? Did Datry Fofana start against Southampton? I know he did, didn't he? In the home game, I think he did start in that one. He was. Yeah, I don't understand that either. That was a strange one. Yeah, look. I mean, look. The back three is obviously not ideal, but it suits us. It's what best suits us. At the moment, with the players that we've got, the back three is what we're most suited to, whether people like it or not. We're really suited to it. It gets the best out of James and Chilwell when they're fit, and it allows us to be a bit more defensively solid. So, yeah, I mean, I like it. Ultimately, I think moving forwards probably will go for a back four, but we need to address key areas in the squad before we can make the switch to that system. But I think in football nowadays as well, though, it's evolved so much. You've got to be fluent and comfortable in multiple systems. So whilst you'd have a main system, it's important to be adaptable and comfortable in multiple systems. You might switch systems depending home or away, depending on opponent and whatnot as well. So it's important to be comfortable, obviously, in the main formation, but then have other strings to your bow as well, because football is always evolving. Yeah, I don't know what's happened to Chukwuemeka. It's criminal that he's not featured at all in the last few months. Should be at least on the bench. Should be getting some minutes. He's not going to start, but he should be getting bench minutes for sure. He really should be. We're going to beat Man City and give Arsenal a league. That would be the most Chelsea thing ever. And I don't know how I'd feel about it, because I'd be delighted that we'd won a game again, but I'd be pissed if it gives Arsenal a league as well. So yeah, never a sniff. In terms of Fofana? Sorry to join late. Big up, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Firstly, what do you make of the under 14? I don't know how much the season tickets cost, but I think it's a really good move from the owners, considering how bad this season's been, to freeze the general admission season ticket prices. Yes, the quote unquote hospitality season ticket prices have gone up by, I think, 7%. That's like the Westview area. So obviously for those people in there, it's not ideal for them. But I think that I believe that was communicated by the club that was going to happen anyway. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that hasn't just come as a surprise to them. And yeah, it's the right thing to do to freeze the general admission season ticket prices, because I think it's hard to come in like they have the season they've had, that make the mistakes that they've unfortunately made, and then be like, by the way, we're going to whack up everyone's season ticket prices. So yeah, that's the issue. That would have been a massive issue there. So it's the right thing to do. Whether they've done it because they don't want to, they want more backlash is another question. But it's the right thing to do. In terms of the under-14s captain getting a training session, mad. Like, I think it's great. I mean, what was I doing at 14? Trying to pass GCSE maths pretty unsuccessfully. Slightly more successfully than you, though, mate. We won't go into our number of attempts, but yeah, mate, it's great for the kids. So that'll be invaluable experience for him. He'll learn so much from that, and I think it's a nice gesture from Lampard as well. When there's nothing to play for the rest of this season, it's great to give these lads an opportunity in the first team's training. Of course, at 13 years of age, you could probably find guys that are more deserving of perhaps being in the squad. But it is fantastic exposure, and it's great to see, and it's a nice feel good story. It really is. Appreciate that, bro. Nice one. Newcastle game going to be fun. Yeah, Newcastle game will be good as well. Last game of the season. No, mate, I'm just a pay as you go guy. Not a season ticket. I'd love to be a season ticket holder again. But that, I don't know how easy that is to get hold of a season ticket. So for the time being, I'm a pay as you go guy. Swap Chalobah with Havertz. PG, I'm getting the impression that you do love Havertz, but Havertz at right wing back, I'm not really sure what your thinking is there at all. Should we go for Pickford if Everton went down? No, because I don't. The only reason I say no is because, one, I don't think it's gonna be. I don't think it's the upgrade that we're looking for. Is Pickford better than Kepa? Like overall, significantly better than Kepa overall? I'd have to say no. So for me, if we're going to look at signing a goalkeeper, which we do need to do if we're going to push on to the next level and ultimately win the league again, then we need a better goalkeeper. And I don't think Pickford's an upgrade on Kepa in that position. I think it's very much like for like, if I'm being totally honest. In terms of Pochettino and Declan Rice, Poch, we're just waiting for the announcement. Contracted with the lawyers, I believe. Thoroughly checking everything over. They're just taking their time, making sure that everything's right, etc., and things like that. And I believe we should get an announcement maybe this weekend, potentially. I wouldn't have thought tomorrow because it's a game day, but maybe afterwards if we won the game, maybe, or maybe Sunday. My prediction is I think we get an announcement on Pochettino Sunday or early next week. That would be my feeling on the matter. And in terms of Declan Rice, again, Chelsea massively interested in Rice as is common knowledge. Arsenal feel that they're front of the queue with the fact they can obviously offer Champions League football as well. But yeah, Chelsea will do everything they can to get Declan Rice, but there's not really any update on that and anything further than that. No, I think that's a bit harsh. Assad, he's definitely not. I think there's no indication that this is going to happen. It was just saying that if it were to happen, that Chelsea wouldn't stand in his way. And I think, he'd be well within his rights to do that if he wished to do so. So no hard feelings towards him at all. Mate, Chelsea website, you need to be a member. So you've got to sign up as a member first. To Stegen at Barcelona. Yeah, Barcelona are not going to sell him. Southampton could be relegated this weekend coming up. Yep, they could be. I think they need to beat Fulham. I really don't understand these people who love Havertz. Yeah, I don't get it either. Look, for me, I'm not going to boo him or anything like that, but he's just not good enough for Chelsea. Simple as that, really. Simple as that. Couldn't really be much more simple. What we got here? Why are we playing a five at the back against? Oh, no. Well, mate, this is my choice. I don't think Lampard might not do that, but because the five at the back system suits us the best. It's as simple as that. The players we've got, it gets the best out of them, and it suits us best. That is the ultimate the answer. Do you think the owners will back Poch again? No, mate. There's peas to spend. There's money to spend this summer. Obviously, we need to get rid of a lot of players, and that arguably is more important than what comes in is trimming that squad down. And getting rid of at least 8 to 10 players. We've got a 30-plus man squad. Need to get that down to 24, 25. But yeah, there's definitely money to spend. They want the focus is on getting a few quality additions in. So the 3 positions that have been mentioned that are priority targets: goalkeeper, holding midfield player, centre forward. Those are the 3 areas that we're looking to address. Now, I'm not saying that no one else is going to come in other positions, but goalkeeper, centre forward, defensive midfield player. The 3 key areas, there will be money to spend. That is for sure. But this, I think, will be the last window where you see Chelsea spending big, like they have done in the last couple. So yeah, I'd expect another 200 odd million to be spent this summer, which sounds crazy, but yeah, Silva has earned his right anyway. He's still giving, yeah, of course, 100%. Mount, Chelsea doing everything they can to make him stay. Conversations are ongoing. Pochettino is understood to be a huge fan of Mason Mount and really wants him to stay. So yeah, it's just there's not really that many updates. You're still negotiating. The club want Mount to stay. So let's kind of wait and see what happens. They'll back him, but selling will come first. Yeah, of course. Yeah, for sure. Mount, Cover, Kante. Mount keep, Cover sell, Kante keep. Simple. Costa, Lavia, and Osimhen. What do you mean? Diogo Costa from Porto, Romeo Lavia, and Victor Osimhen. I don't know if we'll smash the record spending wise that we did in January. Absolutely not. Because we're not going to make any British record signings. I'd be shocked on that one. So yeah, but there'll definitely be money to spend, and we will bring players in. The Poch and Kane thing. Yes, you're obviously going to get some of these stronger rumours linking Kane to Chelsea as and when Poch does get announced. But I think I would say it's almost impossible for Kane to join Chelsea with Daniel Levy and the current climate. I just feel that Spurs don't want to sell him. B, they certainly don't want to sell him to Chelsea. And C, I don't think Levy would sanction a move, having obviously seeing his most successful manager in recent years rock up at Chelsea and then Chelsea take his star player. I don't think that would go down particularly well. So whilst you are going to get that, at the same time, I'd be very surprised if this happened. I really would be. To be honest, 2 centre midfielders and a striker, I'm happy. Yeah, agreed. Lukaku have a future at Chelsea. Messi, absolutely zero chance. Nothing on that. Neymar, Bowley did meet Nasser El Khalifi, the PSG president, to discuss a potential move for Neymar back in February. Whether that interest gets picked up again, I'm not so sure. But PSG are open to selling Neymar this summer. Absolutely. Lukaku future at Chelsea, possibly. He'll come back at the end of the season. He's a contracted player. He'll be assessed in pre-season. Does he have a future? Yeah, potentially. If he decides that he wants to make a go of things at Chelsea, then that's the most important thing. That's the only way it's a goer. Then obviously does Poch want to use him? I think it's got legs that it could work out better this time in terms of better players around him, different manager, different system, kind of different environment, I suppose. And he is an in-house solution to a massive problem we've got. And with the striker market, how it is at the moment, in terms of Osimhen and Toney, really the only standouts in it. Maybe Vlahovic, although I'm not too convinced on him. Kane is in there, but again, unlikely to come to Chelsea. So yeah, it's a possibility, mate. Even if Kane wants to join, yeah, for sure. Who would you want more, Mane or Felix? I'll take Felix. Neymar is the most Bowley signing ever. Yeah, it would be. But I think actually now that, it's clear that Neymar doesn't fit what we're trying to do, so I'll be very surprised. Plus, he'd have to take a massive, massive pay cut. He's on about 600K a week. So, yeah, there's no way we're paying him that. He'd have to at least reduce his wages by minimum 50%. So, yeah, maybe a loan potentially. But, yeah, I view those as unlikely situations. But, yeah, guys, seems like a good place to round this one out. So, make sure you smash the likes on the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Make sure you check out the Forest preview with Forest Fan TV, also out on the channel. 6 years to the day, guys, that we secured the Premier League title at the Hawthorns with Michy Batshuayi's goal. 6 years on, and we're languishing 11th, maybe 11th in the league. So how things change, Let me get to give us a league prediction for next season now. Oh, fucking hell, I'll give you a quick top four off the top of my head right now. Top four, City, Liverpool, United, Chelsea. That's shameless. I'm just literally going out now. City, Liverpool, United, Chelsea. That's the top four next season, just off the top of my head right now, with no time to think about it. Keeper replacements, a striker, a first priority. Yep, agreed on that. Score prediction for me to round this one out then. I'd love us to make it 2 wins in a row. I think this game's going to be a lot harder than many people expect. Forest fighting for their lives. Yes, they're poor on the road, but you never want to be playing teams with something to fight for at the end of the season. As I said at the top of the show, they always find a little bit extra, make that a bit harder. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw in this one. But yeah, guys, as I said, thanks so much for tuning in. Massively appreciate each and every single one of you. Make sure you smash the likes on the stream on the way out. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Help us on the way to 3,000 subscribers, less than 100 to go now. So make sure you keep smashing that subscribe button. It really helps me out. But yeah, guys, I'll be at the game tomorrow, so stay tuned for some post-match content, match vlog, and obviously the more in-depth post-match analysis later on tomorrow night. So stay tuned for that post-match content. And guys, enjoy the rest of your Friday evening. Take care and up the Chelsea. Peace out, people.